This is the Appointments Committee on 6/26/2024. This meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast in the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. Okay, we're ready.
Councilors Bloom,
Here.
Mendez,
Here.
Turkelson,
Here.
excuse me, Burdick. Clark,
Here.
you have quorum.
All right, let's get started. Any public comment?
Oh, here comes,
Here comes Seth.
Are you, oh, Seth's here?
I'm here, I am here.
Ah,
Got you a conversation.
Oh, you gotta sit down there.
Oh.
Cindy, I'll wait them at this time.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
You and Brandon.
Councilor Burdick is on the table. No public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Reynolds, welcome.
Thank you, good to be here.
So I see you're interested in the Airport Commission.
Yes,
Councilor Burdick.
Okay, so, it's nice to meet you, I'm Seth.
I met you downstairs.
Yes, briefly, I didn't introduce myself, I just said hi. So, let's get started then. I ran up the stairs to get here because I realized I was late.
You want somebody else to go first?
No, I'll just say, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I grew up in Massachusetts, lived just outside of Boston. Married a lady from the Cape, so the answer to you was obvious. When we retired, we moved to the Cape. I now live in Marston Mills, and I've been active in a number of different activities. I was, during my career, I worked for Xerox Corporation. And then when we retired, I was on the board of directors for the Cape Cod Boy Scouts. And now that office is really kind of consolidated due to financial problems into Boston. And I didn't want to be going to Boston for a meeting, so a whole bunch of that. And then I'm also currently active on Cape Cod Men's Club. And within that, I'm responsible for event planning and membership. So that, and it's a service organization that works all across Cape Cod. And then I also belong to the Louisiana Gun Club. And I used to race sailboats. I was on the race committee, and I used to race sailboats. I had to reach a certain age, and it's like, your time is up. And so my time was up. So what I found was that I had some free time, and I really like to be involved in the community and things like that. I know a person that's on the committee right now, Norm Wild, and so he's told me a little bit about it. I said, well, that might be something I would be interested in. Am I going too fast, too short?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of about it. My interests are really taking a look like the long-term growth objectives for the airport, and where is that thing going? What are the risks and what are the opportunities for people working at the airport, for the airport itself, on Cape Cod, and like where do we want to be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years? Because you're really going to be looking out 50 years. They just signed a clause with the mall out there. I don't know whether you know that, plus those stores, they own all that property. That's a 50-year lease. And prior to that, they had the property and there was no price escalator on the lease at all. And so when there was a big controversy when that turned over, because the price escalator. And so it's been quite a bit of turnover. But in my opinion, that was the right thing to do. So, yeah, those are the types of things that they get into that I'm familiar with. So it's a risky opportunities. I'm looking like what markets does the airport serve, or what's going to happen to like Archer Aviation? Should we be getting Archer Aviation down here? That's a vertical lift airplane, and that could do wonders for Cape Cod and give us access back to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, which we don't have. Maybe to Boston, maybe to Providence. So, but it's so things like that I think are good opportunities. There's a training facility out there, which I think should be expanded to train pilots, mechanics. And because it's, the people that can't leave the jobs, we can do a really good training them, and then we keep them on the Cape. So it'll be a blessing for Cape Cod, and it work out for everybody. So it's just another one. The other one I think that's kind of interesting to take a look at is, if you take a look at the population of the Cape, this is my last comment. Population of the Cape, who are they, how old are they, where do they fly to? That's changing dramatically. But the biggest destination used to be Brazil. Well, it still is. But it's very hard to get there. So how could we augment that? What could we do? Could we do a flight from here to Charlotte? Should we be approaching the Charlotte airport? To help our members right now, for every 100 people that board a plane out of Boston, the 6 of them fly up there and 94 of them drive, take the bus. Well, what can we do to change that around? And of course, that vertical airplane might make a difference, but there are other things we can do too. So those are the things I'd like to be working on to help the airport, help the airport, people that work in the careers there, but also help the public.
Sure. Councilor Jefferson.
Well, you kind of answered my question in your introduction. So my question, you covered it.
Okay, all right, good.
You're efficient.
One down.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate, your forward thinking on, how the airport, commission can go. Yeah. Forward thinking for your, for the benefit of the airport. So I appreciate that. If you were not selected for the airport commission, would you still, first of all, let me ask you, have you watched any of the meetings?
Yes, on TV. I've attended the last 5 meetings.
Understood.
I watched.
Yes, understood.
Speaking of what,
Yes,
I watched, yes.
understood. So if you were not selected for this committee, would you still be engaged enough to participate in the meetings or occasionally watch the meetings?
I would definitely occasionally watch the meetings, because there's just a lot going on there that affects me, my family, and so I probably.
Councilor Wu.
Yes, you mentioned transportation up to Boston.
Don't tell me you're a bus driver.
I usually try, but do you mean you'd like to see more air travel up to Boston from here to catch the flights?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's an opportunity. And, but I think, I just don't understand why 100, I don't understand what's wrong with 106 of the 100 people, 94% of them are taking some alternative transportation other than flying up there. So what are we doing wrong at the airport that we could change that and make it more beneficial? It's a very comfortable ride up there. And,
Do you think it's a financial issue?
it could very well,
Like
it could be.
Tickets more expensive.
And it could be a convenience. It's a question of attracting other airlines here, but certainly financial is a big part of it.
So if we attract more airlines here, we might get more competition, prices will go down.
If we attracted more airlines here, if we work with the airlines on doing a better job of pricing, like for instance, if you work with the airlines, and most people go to Boston and attracting someplace else, flying from Boston to someplace else. If we could have them fly from Boston, from Cape to Boston, that's the first leg, and then they fly Boston to Chicago. Make your money on the flight from Boston to Chicago, don't make your other money, as much money, cut back on the money to the Cape, from the Cape, and make it more attractive for people to fly up there. That's a benefit to the airport to get people in there, so they don't go to Providence, Rhode Island, and, so, I mean, it's gotta be well thought out, but,
My concern is for the people that live under the flight path, which I am one of them. I think John is one of them too. I don't know if you noticed this, John, but, after they fixed that runway that goes, say, south and north of this way, all of a sudden, when they opened it, there were some enormous aircraft coming in and making a lot of noise. I grew up there. You know, I'm used to noise.
Yep.
Most of the time it goes in one ear and out the other. I'm just so used to it. But I just noticed that the noise is really significant now with those big aircraft I'm concerned about, I know that electric aircraft would solve that problem, but how far are we away from getting there? And that's just a concern I have for people that live in it.
I think it's a legitimate concern. And it needs to be addressed. I would be surprised if they weren't trying to do things about it. But for instance, I was reading about Archer, this new plane that they have, and I think, and I don't know whether anybody else right now is addressing this, but Archer has this new vertical, takes off vertically and lands. And so it goes up and then it eliminates that whole noise feature. And that is a ideal connecting flight. So we should be using that to fly to Boston, to fly to Providence, and as a way to get people to take those MX. And that's going to be a relatively inexpensive. The way that Archer's designed that whole plane. And one of the things that I would like to do if we're on the commission is to at least get with Archer and invite them to, they're running tests right now, and start a test at our airport. And so we can find out about it, find out whether it works, and then how can we modify that, the flight, to make it work for us and for them. And I think it's a way of the future. I mean, that's another one of those things that are coming that we gotta, as the airport commission, you gotta be in front of. And I think that helps. Speaking in an office, but it could help this situation. Okay,
I just have a quick comment. I have done a lot of reading about the Archer aviation, and their model, the price point is supposedly quite a bit.
Really?
The noise is minimal. But the problem, I'm an avid flyer, I fly a lot, and the problem with our airport is schedule. I fly early mornings, all the time, it was not a flight. I'm driving to the airport at 4:00. It's just,
yes,
and that's part of the problem, but part of that derives from the revenue that the current carriers have. Revenue.
but there is a solution to that too. And.
Buy a plane.
Yeah.
Archer plane.
But one of the things that Boston is doing to save money, the airlines are doing, is they're flying, the flight comes in late at night. And instead of leaving in Boston overnight, because it's very expensive to fuel it, and it's very expensive to service it, and then put the crew up in a downtown Boston hotel, costs them a ton of money. It would be a lot less expensive for them. I got the crew here, just arrived at 10 o'clock. I'm gonna fly them down to the airport down on the Cape. They can fill it with gas, whatever they, oil, whatever they do, but they can fill it with that down here, a lot less expensive than Boston. They could put the crew right across the street at that airport hotel, the hotel right across the street from the airport. No commute, much as half the price of hotels in Boston, at least half.
Yeah, the only problem with that is like Constable Bloom talked about, they have time restrictions on when you can fly.
What now?
Have time restrictions. Because of the flight paths.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I
So,
understand that.
you couldn't do that, but anyways,
Yeah, well,
we can debate that on
yeah,
that.
no, but,
Yeah,
and that's the type of solution, if I were on the committee, I'd be looking at saying,
yeah.
long term, how are we gonna fix it? What are we gonna do?
Mhm.
And with all the new stuff that's coming, if we keep that as a priority, there's gotta be a way that we get that addressed.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the forward thinking. You know, you gotta throw some stuff against the wall for it to stick, so. Thank you so much. for
Okay,
coming
well,
in.
listen, it was really a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time. to
Yeah,
talk
oh,
to me.
absolutely.
And I gotta tell you, I talked to all these guys on the wall.
Mhm.
They're also very good. So,
Thanks for
okay.
taking the time.
Well, thank you very much, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to spend some time with you ahead of time, keep you
Yes,
company.
yeah.
I arrived a little bit
Nice to
early,
meet you.
I met him down in the hall, wandering the
I
hall.
was wondering.
He likes to wander.
I told him where the stairs were, he said, I'm looking for the elevator.
Thanks again.
Pleasure.
John Norman?
Take care.
John Richmond?
Hey, see you later, everybody.
We'll get one of the
Take care.
There's always more than one.
How you doing?
Well, how are you?
Good. Jeff again.
Yep, thank you. Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks, Thomas. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Seth. Bird.
Hi.
John.
And I
I see you're interested in historical.
am, you wouldn't take it from my resume, but, so it's probably better if I just talk. The main point of that, I suppose, is that, I've now lived in Hyannis for a very long time. You know, it's with the Cape Cod Times Circulation Department when, in their glory days. And Charlie knows my wife, who grew up here. She knows way more about Hyannis than I do.
She knows way more about many things than I do.
Exactly.
Who's your wife?
Mary Bo, her high school name was Mary Beaumont. She's Mary Richmond. She's a naturalist and artist. She writes 2 columns a week for weekly papers. To give you an idea, her mother was Dr. Schultz's secretary at the Federated Church. So Mary went there. Our children have grown up here. Our grandchildren have grown up here. In fact, they all went to Hyannis East.
That's right, they were there.
Yes, so you know. So from that point of view, a long history. But because I commuted off Cape for a long time, I really was not that connected to Hyannis. I spent 7 years at the Thornton Burgess Society in Sandwich, and that got me into sandwich history, which, as you know, is fascinating. Contentious, but fascinating. No, to give you an idea, I was on the 375th anniversary committee for Sandwich. And one of the stories of Sandwich is the persecution of the Quakers. And East Sandwich was far enough away from the centers of authority that they got a toehold there. And there was a man, I think his last name, he was one of the Freemans, who stood up for the Quakers. Okay, Sheriff Barlow made his money by collecting fines. That was his salary. So he fined heavily, and often with the Quakers, he would take all of their livestock. And so this guy would go to court to sue Barlow to get the livestock back for the family so that they could survive. And I thought this was a wonderful story of one man standing up in the face of the community for what he thought was right. And I thought it should be part of this 375. They told me that there are still hard feelings amongst the families in Sandwich on both sides of the equation. And thank you very much for your input. Let's move on to the next thing. So anyway, it was fascinating. The Burgess Society failed financially, merged with the Cape Cod Museum of Natural History. And I moved on to become a maintenance man at Thurwood Place, which I did until I retired a year and a half ago. And then I thought, I've always loved history, and I went to the media center and I started learning how to produce. I got the idea, what a great idea to do like a video walking tour in Hyannis. Let's start with Pleasant Street. Well, my neighbor, or neighbor at the time, Peter Campbell, loaned me his postcard collection and his Hyannis sea captains. And my God, what a story. 143 sea captains in Hyannis. The history of Hyannis, by and large, in some ways is encapsulated in Pleasant Street and Captain's Row, which I'm sure you're already all too familiar with. But when you walk down there, all I started doing really was taking pictures and then seeing what used to be there. You know, and there are a number of captains' houses that are gone. Some gone before anybody gave it a thought. You know, we got plenty of old houses here in Hyannis. Who cares? And commercial development over history is the way it is. So I'm not fond of that. I'm not an hysterical preservationist. You know, there are some things that when you walk there, you realize that this is really the effect of the steamship authority and tourist trade to Nantucket. There's no standing against it, you know, it's just parking, parking, parking. And the trucks going down Pleasant Street make it unpleasant to live there. So when number 35 comes up for sale, it's anybody's guess, and that's one of the nicest captain's houses that's left in Hyannis. So anyway, as part of doing this, I found out that the Barnstable Historical Society had snapshots that Dr. Harris took of the old captain's houses. Well, I had devil's own time trying to communicate with them until I was with the Hyannis Historical Society. They put me in touch with Nancy Shoemaker, who led me into the historical building and let me take pictures. And we chatted and went around. I've seen a couple of their meetings, which go both ways. Some very good, some make you want to stab your eyes out. But she thought I would be good. And that they were going to be losing some people, and she encouraged me to apply.
That's a good thing.
As casual as it may seem, here I am.
All right, Councilor Turkelson.
And when you say, makes me wanna, stab my eyes out, what about that in particular? I mean, you don't have to.
I'll tell you, that's what
I was just
they
curious.
had a Zoom,
I have to
there
go
was
to
a
meetings too.
Zoom meeting, okay? The homeowner in Hyannis had two nondescript stone pillars to this side of his driveway, you know, the rounded stone set in concrete. And he had the circular driveway, the beautiful house, and he wanted to take this pillar and put it on this side of the hedge to make it more symmetrical. And there was nothing historically or aesthetically important about that tower, okay? And some people on that committee spent 15 minutes discussing that tower when, I'm sorry, I thought you just said, I'm sorry you have to go through this. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for not knocking down both towers. Move your pillar. And move
So
on.
in particular, what do you think you'll bring to this commission that might be missing currently?
I don't know if there's anything missing from this commission, to tell you the truth. I have a love of history and appreciation of architecture, but without trying to be too extreme about it. The most recent one was a house at 151 Pine Avenue, which is an incredibly historic house. It's like the 1710, it was Ora Hinckley's house, it was Crocker before that. Fire, the owner petitioned to demolish the house. And with the Historical Society, we were like, we understand if that's absolutely necessary. You know, we hope it isn't necessary. If you have to demolish it, could you at least have it demolished by one of those companies that saves the wood for people like West Barnstable tables? You know, maybe there's some architectural detail that we could get out of it to use as a fundraiser for the library. So, you know, not to be hysterical, not to say, oh my God, you've got to preserve this house the way it is, because for what it would cost to do that in that neighborhood, you could never make that money back. You know, so I feel that I'm realistic about historic preservation. As it turns out, they decided that they could at least save the facade of the house, which is something,
Thanks, appreciate that.
okay?
Councilor Burdick.
No, I have no questions for you.
Okay.
That is exactly what I need to hear.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you very much for applying, Mr. Richmond, and thanks for your local service and your care for our history. So it was Nancy Shoemaker who recommended that you apply?
Yes.
That's a good recommendation. I have a great deal of respect for Nancy for that, and I appreciate your how do I want to say, your investment in time and care to know that there's a respect for history and the practicality that needs to come into the equation. So appreciate that. And it sounds like you have attended the meetings already and you're aware of the work that they've been doing. Yes. Thank you very much.
Councilor Wu.
I'm sold. Not only are you really committed to investigating things, but you're also in my precinct, and I would like to get as many people in my precinct on committees as possible, and you're qualified for sure.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna vote for you.
Thank you.
So would you say that efficiency is a problem with the committee?
I haven't seen enough meetings to say that.
Mhm.
I feel that that's just. Things like that are what historical commissions and committees are famous for.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen enough to say. Do this, do that.
Yeah,
Enough.
all right, sounds good. All right, well. I'm all set. All right.
Thank you all very
Thank you
much
so
for
much
your
for
time.
coming in.
Appreciate it.
What's the number of the house on Pine Street?
151.
151.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
for your time. All right.
Dan Luskow?
Oh, family. Oh, family.
Helen McLeese?
You got a mic.
No,
Curtis,
tell them
Paul.
the high school.
Oh, Mike Curtis and Colin. All right, Mike Curtis.
Hi, Mike. Hey, how are you?
Oh, yeah.
Good, just going down the list.
I had this, e-bike accident, so that's why.
Whatever happened?
Yeah, yeah, being Miss Daisy.
I've been waiting to meet somebody from an e-bike accident.
Oh, no?
Yeah, Kristen.
Hey, Mike, I'm Jeff. Very nice to meet you.
It's really good.
All right, so you're up for airport.
Yeah, what, yeah. So, in my previous life, I worked 42 years in the aircraft and aerospace industry.
Oh, okay.
So, I thought I could do a lot to, help out, the airport and, with that. Just, yeah. I can get involved in a lot of stuff, so, Barnstable Men's Club, I do a lot of stuff with that. And, Several know when to it, I do a lot of stuff.
You're the policy advisor.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I did that inside Barnstable, it was a great course, yeah. Yeah. Now, taking the fall, the police, you know,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that trifecta.
yeah, yeah.
Council Bloom.
You mentioned that you had a career in
Aerospace.
aerospace. Can you tell us about it?
So, yeah, so what I used to do, back in the Worcester area, in actually Grafton, Mass. I was the production control manager. So I would run, I would get the metal from the mills and make the parts and, even sell to Boeing and, Lockheed and all that kind of stuff, you know, so. It was an interesting time, my job, and, then as the company downsized, I went into smaller, versions of the job, you know. It went retreat, it was running, operation, shipping and stuff like that. But, understand what's going on with Boeing right now and all that stuff, yeah. It's like, I think about the end of the month and always trying to get the parts out, you know, and maybe somebody got caught in that whole thing, you know.
Make them right.
Yeah, yeah.
Just get out of here.
I lived out.
So Worcester Polytech, is that how you learned?
Yeah, so I went to Worcester Polytech.
Yeah.
And then I worked for antibodies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. That's how I learned that whole business, yeah. My father worked there and my uncle worked there. And it's like, you better come work for Wyman Norton. So 42 years later, here I am.
Thank you.
Council Tar.
Thank you very much. And heads off to you for all your civic engagement with the being involved with the to it. That what you said.
Fire policy advisory. Fire
Yeah,
district.
you're the men's club. Sounds like you're you go into civic
I do love it.
participation. Thank you. So have you attended any of the airport commission meetings?
I have not, I see them online.
Oh,
I watched them online. And, on the registrar too, in town of Barnstable. So, yeah, so I work for you work.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
There's four of us. Yeah.
Has an appointed
It's like, yeah,
Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
very engaged.
yeah, you can get engaged and everything, so, but, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your hearing this, and thank you for, applying for the airport commission.
Yes, thank you.
And, so you've watched the meetings online, and if you are not, selected, would you still be inclined to watch the meetings or attend them, or,
Yeah, so, yes, I'll get involved.
because you never know when there's going to be a vacancy.
Yes, right. There's someone on the airport commission that lives in Boston Hills and encourage you to apply for it. So that'd be a good fit.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Jefferson.
I'm gonna steal Jeff's question a little bit. You know, we talk about controversy. There's been some controversy around the airport about whether it should stay in its location or move down to the base. And we were listening to the first gentleman speak about forward thinking. So I'm just curious if you have any kind of thoughts on kind of the longevity of here we are,
Yeah,
Barnstable
so I
and going
would just
forward.
like to listen to understand what's happening, because I'm not convinced one way or another. You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Councilor Burt.
I don't know, I know you already.
Yeah. I know you do.
How about, what does the registrar do?
So the registrar, right now, we bring the ballots to the locations and,
Right, so that's the main thing,
yeah,
you pick up the ballots out of the safe if it opens, and then you bring
yeah,
it,
that opens, yeah.
and then bring it back too.
Yes, yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, it can be a late night, you know.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
And are you also applying for the Council on Aging simultaneously?
yeah,
Yeah, you got two.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go back, that's why.
So when you worked for the aerospace company, you were in charge of the whole factory?
Yes.
How many people?
So at one point, we had 2,200 people. And, yeah. Then when I left, it was 450. So it was just digression.
Yeah, was it because things were getting outsourced, or they were being, the production facilities were moved overseas?
Overseas, yeah.
So from 2,200, you just,
Yes.
that's,
You know, I kind of say it's, for myself, staying in 42 years, it's commendable, you know, because we went through a lot of downsizing and addition.
right, because I had to kind of reassess constantly about
Yeah.
how to reframe the business to be functional and to be profitable.
You know,
As it gets smaller and smaller, did they keep the production and move it overseas? Or did they just get out of the business and then eventually shut?
you know, they moved the production. A lot of it, we moved down to Texas. And,
Where it was
yeah,
cheaper than ours, probably operate less regulatory hurdles to jump to have
right.
aerospace
I'm
manufacturing.
sure Berkshire, yeah, Berkshire Hathaway owned this at the end, you know.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it's purchased by a well, conglomerate.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Right.
interesting.
My father-in-law worked at one.
Oh, really?
Well, there you go. That's all I have to add.
Do you have a preference of council on aging or airport?
I don't, I'll do both.
Do both, okay.
Council on Aging, do you want me to speak about that? No.
Yeah, if you want to, sure thing.
Okay, so I'm a state certified ombudsman for the town, for the Massachusetts, but I work currently in Falmouth, you know, with the Falmouth rest home and Royal Couture is what they call it, you know.
That's right on 28.
No, it's on Jones Road.
Oh, okay.
There's
There's
a close
two
one.
of them, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
really-
it's the Royal Couture, it's really in Nashville,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
The Royal Falmouth really isn't Falmouth.
But so that means you manage people's money for people who are indigent or who are out of their own.
So we're advocates for people who you know, can't do too much, you know?
Manage their affairs.
Yeah. So, big thing, I was at Elder Services today, and it was, during COVID, there was a lot of shortcuts being taken. Now they're trying to get into what they call these care planning, you know?
Yeah.
We used to do those, but now it's people just checking a box, you know. Right. So I really think we can advocate for the people.
Wasn't there something else what was I remember when the fire district, were you on the committee to build the school in Leominster? Where was it? What was the thing you did with the school?
Oh, with Leicester.
Oh, in Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester, Mass. There was, we had a fire. No, we're gonna build a fire station and, they asked me to help out, you know, we didn't. So anyways, we ended up building a new fire station, cost $8 million and, I'm going through the same thing to do it, you know.
Yeah, which I'm sure, yeah. It's gonna be a real blast.
Yeah.
Sure like that.
Anybody else have any follow-ups?
No.
All right,
Thank you.
you're all set. Thank you so much for coming in.
Have a good day.
Nice to see you. Nice seeing you.
The one and only Mr. Fair.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. You too.
Oh, Larry's sitting over here too.
He's a little fun.
Uh,
He's just keeping an eye out.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, well,
Nice to see you, sir. How are you? Good. We just interview you again and again. How many more interviews?
Yeah. Too bad I can't knock off two at the same time. I think they did apply for the ZBA, but that's not, up yet. Yeah, I'll get my foot in the door somehow.
If you would interview you for the,
Oh, okay.
right?
No, we
No.
just did the
Yeah.
No.
ad hoc committees. You guys
Oh,
did.
okay.
But I feel like there was another.
I know, I feel like there was another one as well.
But this one's for airport JFK and zone possibly one. You got a whole bunch of you.
I just checked, they just went down and checked stuff off.
Well, I feel like I know you like a brother.
I,
You know, tell us a little bit about why.
well, my parents moved down here in 1982 when my father retired from the city of Boston. So that's, where I really grew my roots around that. And we had 3 children who moved down here all the time. I recall though, seeing the Apollo landing in '69, Charlie, when I was in a cottage in Dennisport. That was just trying to think when my first recollection of the Cape was, you know, with my folks, we were fortunate to come down for 2 weeks every year. The highlight of our summer. So then my father retired in the 60s, moved down, and then my goal was always to move down here too, right? I spent quarter of my time in Boston and the next quarter of my time in raising a family in Canton. And bought this place we have now 10 or 12 years ago, you know, in hopes of moving it, which we did find. Just to you know, if I can move on to the airport, you guys all know that has been kind of my peeve, that the airport has been misrun. Those 650 acres do not bring us as a town a nickel in the coffers, and I can see. When I proposed, when I thought about what better way to use that land, started actually when I went to a meeting at Save Twin Brooks. And then the next week there was a meeting at the airport, and I went up there and said, this place is deserted. I started calling it the Cape Cod Ghost Airport. And I started looking into it, putting two together. I said, why do we have these beautiful 650 acres sitting here unused when maybe it could be used for senior housing, life sciences, recreation? And we discovered, lo and behold, Joint Base Cape Cod needs someone to go up there and run that place. If I was told, no, the military will never let us in there. The military needs us. They don't only want us, but they need us. The only one left there is the US Coast Guard. You know, they're the lowest ones on the run for their, as far as their budget goes. And they don't have any money. They just want to be allowed to stay. This is why I've spoken before about it. So as soon as I proposed it, what did the airport manager do? Came running up here, had a meeting with Mr. Rells and the council leadership, and they circled the wagons. We've heard from councilors that, well, this is a regional airport. Lo and behold, it's not, folks. Regional airports, the FAA doesn't consider an airport regional unless you have 150 planes based there. Currently, we have 40 planes. They also
have, only been, they are currently only doing 7% of the business that they once did 20 years ago. Folks, they have, you saw in the media recently, they were able to bring in some seasonal flights that started June, and they're gonna end in September. And they spent thousands advertising that, but they didn't tell people that it was seasonal. And they shoot up fireworks, and they have the fire trucks blowing their water lines when these airlines come in. But an airline can't make it there because they don't have the passenger service, unfortunately. So if we can, I think if we can move that whole operation down there, and believe me, everyone at that airport will have a job, because every fire department on the Cape is in desperate need of firefighters. Falmouth, 7, for instance, they just built a new station. So mainly, the reason I want to get on this, honestly, is to be an advocate for residents. I have heard so many times that you don't have a voice. People that live in Hyannis or the Barnstable, and you do. I heard this from my neighbors in Centerville, for instance. We had a block party, and someone started talking about the noise from airplanes, and it wasn't the airfield up the street in Austin Mills either. So one morning they said that they're tired of the noise, and I said, "Why don't you complain?" They said, "To whom? People don't realize there's a noise abatement." So one day there were 2 planes that buzzed my house, and I looked on Flight Aware. I said, "Oh, they came out of Hyannis. I'm going to file a complaint, test the system, see what happens." 3 days later, a person got back to me with a link to the FAA noise abatement. And basically, it was 500 pages of legalistic crap. It was written by lawyers, for lawyers. Basically, you can't fight them. So my neighbors were right. You can't fight them, but you can still file a complaint. I thought. But I found out that anyway, that there was a lot of neglect going on there. I think it could be run better. I saw, what makes me very angry was when I heard a counselor speak up and call the commission self-serving, which is right. The FAA, by law, instituted these airport commissions, and they insulated them. So you guys know better than me. You can't go down there and tell them what to do. You can approve their budgets, maybe. So what happened really made me angry when one of the counselors spoke up against them. They came down here in force and ridiculed that counselor, called her a maverick and a rogue. And I think there needs to be better control in that commission. If you want someone that wants to be a voice for the residents and who cares about the town, and not just being an airline zealot, I'm the person for it. Basically, I could go on about more facts and figures about that place, but I want to give you folks an opportunity. But I'm pretty sure that you folks know me already, and you know where I sit on most, how I feel. I have a love for this town, and I think that the airport could be run a lot better.
Council Burdick,
I have no questions.
Council Jefferson.
If you were to be seen as, I'm not saying this is true, I'm making this story up in my head, but that you're more of a lone wolf in that pack.
Mhm.
How do you think that will go, being a lone wolf in that pack?
I hope to bring some enlightenment, person, honestly, to the rest of the members there. They have a habit of rubber stamping everything that they do. They make deals off the table. I'm gonna make sure I'll bring it up that, I would like to discuss this further before we proceed. They recently spent $15,000 on a study that I can pick apart. I won't right now. They spent $15,000 with a Boston law firm without any discussion before the commission. That really enrages me. I think that's wrong. That's one example. I mean, I'll be a lone wolf for sure. I understand, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, thank you.
Council Pat.
Thank you very much. and I appreciate your investment in our community and that you've attended these meetings for the Airport Commission. And I have learned also that if the airport were to move to Joint Base Cape Cod, that we would have to reimburse the FAA for all the grant money that they've accepted over the years, and that's very daunting.
Again, this is part of the misleading or misinformation campaign. They only give you one side, for us, honest to goodness. We will owe some money. However, we have had meetings with senators who have said they will work with the town of Barnstable. But first, the town has to tell them they are willing to work. And right now, there's just that wall. It's just a wall, like the blue wall the police have, you know, we're not touching it. They're the golden goose in this town, and it's wrong. So that was what part of the study that the law firm said, and said, Chris, they raised a good point, that we're gonna owe millions. Well, first it was 700,000, then it went up to 1 million, then it went up to 2 million. However, now they want to increase that by, it's the biggest boondoggle in the state right now. They want to extend the runway, spending $25 million of our tax money. And they said it's free money, it's the FAA is going to pay for all of it. It's still my tax money, and it's not needed. It's a case of if you build it, they will come. They will not, there will no planes need a runway that they are, this project has in mind. $25 million, it really blows me away. And as far as electric goes, by the way, that's the other thing that they're misleading, I think, the public on. I'm glad Councilor Bloom mentioned that. I looked into it. Airplanes currently can only go 250 miles with batteries. That's from here to Syracuse, New York. The batteries weigh 6,000 pounds, so that limits passengers to 4. And contrary to that, a fuel tank, a full tank of aviation fluid weighs 600 pounds. So we are still trying to cut down on greenhouse gases. We're a long way off. I don't know where they're going to come up with all the lithium and cobalt, all these chemicals we need for all these batteries. And I'll get off that high horse with this. There was a friend of mine's a firefighter. They had a fire off Cape with an electric lawnmower behind a house. They caught the house on fire due to the battery. We see it in the news all the time with car batteries. God forbid the first plane that ever crashes. These batteries are so dangerous. If they're punctured, they explode like TNT. That's what they don't tell you.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you had so much research into the aviation aspect of it, and I think that any committee that has a lone wolf on there, you know, keep everybody honest, so to speak. You know, I think that can be very, very helpful. I don't think it can be destructive to the committee.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. That's all I have to say.
I respect your passion.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated.
So I really have no questions
All
because
right.
you've covered it all. And thank you for your
All right.
perspective.
I thank you
Appreciate
all.
it. And thank you for coming in.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you all.
And I'm sure
Take care,
we're gonna find someplace for you because.
Thanks, Paul.
We'll
Always a
find for
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
And, hey, Paul, thanks again, sir.
My wife and I enjoy both markets. It's,
Well, thanks.
neither one of us have to cook anymore.
It's all
Nice to
nice,
see you,
Paul.
Cindy.
Have a good day. Take
You
it
too.
easy.
Take care. Great to see you, Larry.
I don't know where your other applicants are. I reached out to all 3 of them.
Doors locked?
But
Oh,
I haven't gotten any message from anybody saying help let
Oh,
me
it's
in.
too early.
do you want me to?
Well, while we're waiting, I have to visit work, so I will.
Are you gonna check the door?
I'll check the door.
I'll go with you so you can
Hi, sir.
open the door and
Yeah, I have not, I reached out to,
Good, better.
the last three applicants.
Let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll see.
Chris King, did not get back to me, and neither has Dr. Leskow or John.
Well, we'll take a 10-minute break and
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I move to adjourn for the record.
Mr. Moore, do you have anything to say?
Nope, I've got a lot of things percolating in my mind, Jeff.
As always.
They're,
Okay, so wait,
Seconded.
do we need to make a appointment, another meeting?
Oh, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah,
Can you do the last?
Yeah, you can choose another meeting date.
I think we should do it right now.
You all pick.
Why don't you want to do it right now? Didn't bring it down, but yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Well,
We can wait. We can wait.
No, it's probably not gonna be till after the fourth of July.
yeah. No.
it's
Yeah.
probably not gonna be till like the third or fourth week of July, based on
Yeah, I know, yeah,
meetings and town council meetings and.
Can
Okay,
do
you
the-
wanted to doodle us?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
You've
I
been
send a
doing
bunch
the
of
doodle
dates out
polls.
and then
How you got here?
everybody you can choose.
We choose the Kristen Strong arms this year.
I just never get anything in response, and then when I find out when the meeting is, I come to it.
Well, when she sends you the doodle and asks you when you wanna come.
Oh, but I never respond.
Oh, okay, but that's what we're
That's
talking.
what
I usually end up sending them a separate list of the dates and then he chimes in and tells me which one he can do.
if I do, but I literally, my schedule is all different all the time, so.
It's all good, I just want you to know you've been invited.
We've been working. I give, my crew started at like 7 o'clock, we've been working at 6
I
o'clock.
bet,
They're still working.
I bet they are. It's brutal. I mean, this week for me hasn't been that busy,
Oh, wait till next
but
week,
like
Fourth of
theoretically
July.
next. So this week I've been sad because I was like, the last few days. I've been so hard.
You do have a motion on the table to adjourn.
Take a vote.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You are adjourned.
Thank you
Thank you.
for keeping us on.